Yes, hello. I am James Rowland, and today it's the WNR567. It's New Japan catch up. I'm not alone. I have the pleasure to be joined by the entire WNR team up first by my side for every WWE and AEW show. It's a fantastic Jaxie Scarlett. How's it going, Jaxie?
Hello, hello. I'm looking forward to this. Definitely, it's been a while since we've caught up with New Japan, so I'm definitely looking forward to some questions being answered by both yourself and our general senpai, um Monty, and all things New Japan. But yeah, looking forward to catching up everything New Japan. Here we go.
Well, just remember, it's not my fault. Up next, our resident NXT expert and New Japan demigod, it's Monty. So if this doesn't work as an episode, Monty, it is your fault.
Well, I'll take that, but also, at this point, AEW is basically what New Japan used to be. So, for all those people who did not know who Okada was and all that, you're welcome. And also, besides that, I just also want to remind you, James, you know this. Uh, you can say it's not your fault, but I remember a dude used to come out on WWE TV and say that all the time. He punted a baby. So I'm just saying.
Oh, right.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
Okay. Yeah. No, I am the Gene Snitsky, I suppose. But last but by no means least, and what have I got to do to make you want me? I mean, what have I got to do to be heard? What do I say when it's all over? And sorry seems to be the hardest word. I mean, it's sad. It's so sad. It's a sad, sad situation, and it's getting more and more absurd. It's sad. So sad. Why can't we talk it over? It only seems to me that sorry seems to be the hardest word. I'm sorry. It's Gina, everybody. How you going?
Thank you for that intro yet again, James, and it's going well. I never say sorry.
No,
So yeah, it's definitely a hard word.
it is hard. It is
I'm
hard.
looking
But
forward to some New Japan for sure, but I'm no expert, so yeah, we'll see.
hey, there's only one demigod here. You know what I'm saying? Like we're all going in here blind. We're going to find out what's going to happen. We're going to catch up with New Japan basically. So I'm sure it will be fine. All right,
Yeah,
so
I'm
we
sure.
have, I'm sure, we have then Sakura Genesis, Dontaku, and Dominion, plus notes on the American shows, and we will mention Best of the Super Juniors, but we'll kind of cover it full elsewhere if I ever get round to it. We had last left it on the eve of Sakura Genesis, so we'd had Wrestle Kingdom and Dynasty, and now we're in April, I think, of New Japan, so we're going to get straight into it on the Road 2 shows, and we saw Del Desperado defend his junior heavyweight title versus Clark Connors in a brutal match. I mean, seriously, this is not for the faint of heart. Despy's back was a mess, and they shared a beer and gave each other the finger after as well, which is always good. On the Road to Genesis, to Tanahashi's credit, before Shota and Takeshita, he took on Shingo and then Taguchi, both great for their own reasons. I'm really enjoying his last run. There's no doubt about that. And Jaxie, again, I think it's best for us to maybe compare it to kind of like, the American wrestling that we know. And John Cena is obviously retiring this year, but obviously Tanahashi's gone about it a little bit differently because it was already April New Japan. It seems to have wrestled four times the amount of John Cena. So it's kind of good to see he's doing it that way.
Yeah, I mean, again, when it comes to Japanese wrestlers, I don't know if they know rest, if that makes sense. But Tanahashi's definitely doing everything that he wants to do and getting it out of his system before he fully, like, hangs up the boots. And I guess this is like what you call some, like, a passionate wrestler who is very much having to let go of something that he loves to do. So why not take advantage of your last run in this way? Again, when it comes to sort of comparing it to the likes of John Cena, it's difficult. Again, he's now an American actor. His he's got to watch himself and this, that, and the other. We also don't know how healthy and regularly he is able to wrestle, capable and well. You know, so I think that there's different outlooks at how Tanahashi's going about his sort of like retirement run. compared to John Cena. That's not to say that, their wrestling skills are too different or too unique, but it's more like them as individuals and how they're approaching like the final year. But I'd say Tanahashi's wanting to go out with a bang in that sense.
Yeah, well, and we're going to mention them a lot on the show as well. But we got April 4th, we've got Sakura Genesis, and Yuri Uemura made Sanada tap out in what might be the biggest win of his career. Unlike Shooter and Tsuji, Yuri is quietly going about his business. And Monty, it's kind of good to see, because like I talk about, we've got all these kind of showy guys that saying they're the future, and then you got a few just going about their business quietly and actually kind of building it.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to describe him. I think also a guy like Sonata, with their history and with the what Sonata has accomplished in his career, it's been absolutely it was one of not only a big win just from that, it's just also like a great point of view for you to kind of see where they're both kind of heading, in my opinion. Like you said, he's kind of building himself up. He's not really talking about it, and I think that's the biggest difference. Even say what you want about Ren Narita. I know he's pretty much just he's. I mean, he just looked like a scumbag at this point. But like, I'll just say it. Like he's a house of torture, and he is what he is. But I don't think he cares about any of the labels that have been placed on him. And I think, like you mentioned, the few that's decided to kind of not acknowledge all of this pressure. It's kind of funny how Suji kind of is in a similar boat, but he talks about it and kind of accepted it, and has he shined. And I think Shelter Umino is kind of the point of where it's like maybe he was not necessarily in his performances, but in his character art you can see a lot of that pressure that he puts on himself and what he's told himself from day one about being this new generation and being one of the flag bearers for the company going forward. It's kind of taking a toll in different ways in Schultz's art. But yeah, 100%. This is one of the biggest victories for excuse me. This is a huge victory, and it was just great to see. And he made him tap. So I mean,
Yeah.
what's more definitive than that? You know what I mean? So again, from my point of view, it's very hilarious because I don't know what I think the pandemic. It needs to be studied, in my opinion, what the pandemic possibly did to a lot of the people who were forced to carry New Japan during that time. Because like the you can just look at Sonata's body and a lot of stuff he's doing with I'm not saying he's a comedy act, but he's nowhere near where I thought he always had the potential to be, which is top of the card. And even what we kind of see when he was world champion, it's kind of hilarious. It's kind of crazy when you think about where he's at, and like we'll talk about more of what he starts to do also on this show. So we'll talk about Sonata again, but yeah, I just found that interesting. But you're 100% right. I think he's went about his business completely differently than some of the other young guys, but he's probably has or started to build. Uemura has started to build one of the strongest resumes for himself, which is saying, really, really cool when you really think about it.
Yeah, right. And Sonada's like the Miz, if anybody's just trying to work it out. Do you know what I mean? Like that kind of there's nothing likable. I don't find anything likable about him. And it's funny with Yuri Uemura how wrestling works, that he was teaming up with Joe Hendry as Joyo, I think it was, on Impact like 2 years ago. So it's good to see the progression, like you said.
A few years ago, I would have been insulted by you calling him Miz because that's the potential he showcased when he was like rivals with Okada. But like what he's become now, I can't argue with you because he's literally fallen that far when it comes to how serious you really can take him. It's insane when you really think about it.
Great Khan defeated El Fantasmo for the New Japan World TV title for the first time ever. The TV title changed hands via count out. I mean, Khan needs the gold, but I'm not sure it's this title, but I do like the two. And we've got Shooter Umino versus Hiroshi Tanahashi. Entering through the crowd in a huge Fatal Fury reference, Tanahashi proudly wore a brown leather jacket as Rock Howard, accompanied by Terry Bogard, portrayed by famed Japanese cosplayer Momo Momoto. And yes, I googled it. Umino finally concluded the match, pinning Tanahashi after using the second chapter. Rare loss for Tanahashi this year. This was great. But Gina, we actually spoke, I think, about on All In with Will Ospreay. It's always great when they can incorporate certain, characters, even from anime or from the computer games, as an old person would say, and actually see it kind of on the screen, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, because of my personal interest in anime and cosplaying, I find even more enjoyment out of it when I see wrestlers do the same. And of course, we see that happen at big shows in, mainstream American wrestling, but to see it happen in Japan as well is always fun to see, how deep they're willing to go with the cosplay. So yeah, it's always fun to see, and it brings like a bit of, fun to their entrances, and some of the fans in there who are also anime fans really appreciate that, especially if there are certain characters within wrestling who emanate the same sort of characteristics as certain game characters or anime characters. So it makes more sense that they do play onto that, because that gets them more hype too.
Yeah, without a doubt. And again, a big victory for Umino there over Tanahashi. House of Torture, Ren Narita, Sho, and Takahashi defeated Bullet Club War Dogs, which is Dread Manoli, Gabe Kidd, and Ishimori for the Never Openweight six-man tag team championships. Sonata and Clark Connors entered the fray, with Sonata teasing a guitar shot to Narita for smashing it over Maloney's head, and Narita took advantage. And post-match, Sonata ripped open his jacket within a House of Torture t-shirt, thus defecting from the War Dogs. Kid, Ishimori, and Connors chased the opposing factory away and tended to Maloney. I mean, honest to goodness, I mean, Jaxie, it's hard enough keeping up with stables when you've got Sonata seemingly jumping into different
Yeah,
ones each month. Do you know what I mean? I
I
think it's
was
just
about I was about to be like, right, hold up, because I swear it wasn't only recently that he joined up with the War Dogs. He's becoming a little bit of a bike, isn't he? He's like, nah, this faction don't work for me. I'm going to the next one. And yeah, I was completely shocked. Out of all the factions that are in New Japan, never did I think that Sonata was gonna go to the House of Torture. And not only that, but it just kind of goes back to what you were saying, and what Monty sadly is now in agreement on, which is like he's taking on this Miz type role. And I think we'll discuss it further. But some of the looks that he is coming out with is fucking atrocious. So I don't know what's going on with this man. I think he's having a bit of a meltdown. I think he's having a bit of a crisis, like an
yeah.
identity crisis, a little bit.
I think apart from United Empire is the only group he hasn't joined, but there's still time this year.
Yeah, there is still time. There is.
Yeah,
Watch
and I
this
don't mind.
space.
Yeah, and I don't mind it because, like we said, Sonata just didn't fit the kind of War Dogs mentality in any way. So again,
Exactly.
I suppose it made a little bit
It
of
was
sense.
never gonna work. Come on now, like it was never gonna work. Hey,
Yeah.
let your senpai teach you something.
It
One of the
felt odd
greatest,
in the first place when he first turned to
right?
them. It was just kind of like, really? Why? Like there was no sort of like connection beforehand, or even similarities, as you say, James, when it comes to
Exactly.
but then I feel the same about House of Torture. Um,
Yeah,
however, however, Sonata's just running with it, and I don't know if this is an incredibly brave move of his, or if this is incredibly dumb to be going along with it. I'm not too sure right now.
he'll be just fine because him and Evil, they train together. Like that's the thread. Like they
Right.
said backstage, Evil and Sonata was back talking, and it's Sonata is not the one to talk. He doesn't say much. So Evil probably ran that conversation. But the point is that that is the common thread. So as the person who is a Lij mark, I love to see Evil and Sonata together again. They were multiple time heavyweight tag champions. So that is the only common thread that he really has. And when you really think about it, he has become so ridiculous that he actually do fits with House of Torture because they are at this point the most ridiculously bad or just evil team in New Japan history. So
Mhm.
yeah, man, he believe it or not, he fits right in. But he definitely never was a war dog. I think I love Gabe Kids and the guys' reaction after it because Gabe almost went insane. It was just like I can't believe they always like we never trusted him anyway, so they just felt stupid. They all felt stupid after it. But yeah, man, I mean this is really on brand. Other than the fact that he's, you know what you say to me is, he's WCW late 90s Jeff Jarrett too because the guitar shots he is loving the guitar at this point. So yeah, man, Sonata's in his whole in his own world And since he was never a guy to ever vocalize much, like I said, the most he used to talk. I remember one time it was about how handsome he was, and then another time it was about, like I said, becoming Okada's rival because he finally beat him in a G1 match. And other than that, Sonata has never really said much. Even when he turned on Naito, he didn't explain jack. So Sonata is who Sonata is, and but he fits with Evil. They've always played off each other really well. So I was actually excited, or not really that surprised here, but it was still a good shocking moment for the people who may not know that history.
Yeah, without a doubt. We got Takeshita defeating Ryo Oiwa for the Never Openweight Championship. Oiwa showed his toughness, but the Never Champ is on another level at the moment. And then we've got United Empire, Callum Newman and Jeff Cobb defeating Los Ingobernables, which was Takahashi and Naito for the tag team titles. What's weird, Gina, is that Cobb is now in WWE as we speak about this. And again, obviously, we know what happened with Naito. So I should just ask, is it everywhere that tag team division just seems to be fucked up at the moment, apart from on SmackDown?
I mean, it seems so. Yeah, it was really weird because I've recently watched these shows um, to be as familiar as I can when coming into this pod, and seeing Jeff Cobb coming out for this championship with Callum Newman. In my head, I was like, okay, they're going to lose this then because obviously Jeff is with WWE now.
Mm.
So it was still a surprise to me to see them get that win. And yeah, it's just weird because you know him as that on there, but then we have to revert back to JC Mateo for WWE now. So it's all mixing up. And yeah, at this moment in time, it seems the tag team divisions are in a bit of trouble. I think some inspiration is needed on one of the shows to say this is how the tag team division should be done, and the rest should follow. But yeah, they do need some help, and I'm hoping this summer they'll really focus on the tag teams in all like venues, and trying to get them and their storylines fixed up, and to
Mm.
at least be a bit more consistent. That's what we would like, more consistency with our tag teams.
Well, because we've got the tag league coming up later on the year. Like you said, it could be a mess. I mean, last year's wasn't great, so hopefully they'll be able to sort that out. And of course, with the loss, Naito blamed the leader, and Tendero isn't dead low. And then we got Yota Tsuji defeating Evil for the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship. There was too much shit going on to cover. Usual House of Torture nonsense. One surprise though was Tsuji's brother. Yota won, so we can move on. Hopefully, get a match with Shingo. Tsuji called out Yuri Uemura, who he made his way to the ring. They agreed on a date. But I mean, Jaxie, I mean, I don't want to say anything, but Yota Tsuji's brother's pretty hot as well, you know?
That
Want to be
was
that
his
guy?
brother.
Yeah.
Okay, I did not know that, but yeah, yeah, I didn't know, I didn't know that, but yeah, I mean, Suchi, no wonder he kept it quiet because he was like, no one should look at my brother.
Well, got it in genes. But beating Evil, though, is the right result, isn't it? You know?
Oh yeah, definitely, absolutely, and I was quite surprised by it, like by the call out, to be honest, because I thought someone might come towards him and like put that challenge forward. So I was quite surprised that he was the one to put the challenge forward.
Mm. And then the main event, Hiroki Goto defeated David Finlay for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. That was on the line. A series of 3 GTRs dedicated to his children and the world saw Goto ultimately victorious over Finlay as he gained the pinfall. He celebrated the win, thanking his children and the world for fighting alongside him. Announced he knew who he wanted next and called out Shooter Umino. Fully dressed yet emotionless, Umino obliged an appearance, nearly entering the ring but leaving after hearing boos and re-entering after Goto's request and accepting a title match for Windy City Riot. I mean, Monty, there's a lot going on here, obviously, when it comes to Goto, but with Finlay, it was all about what Finlay did to the champ in front of his children. When was it? Was it last year or just before Wrestle Kingdom or something like that? Can't remember.
You're right. It was last year. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm the exact date is a little bit, but I think it was over the belt, the global belt, right, or something like that
Mm.
at the time. And yeah. And he embarrassed him right in front of his kids. And yeah, I mean Goto again at that time, Goto still had the moniker or the stick of just being that guy who was just almost there, always being there. So for him to kind of reverse that role and be the guy who's on top, and then actually be able to get it done in front of his kids, and in that fashion, like you mentioned. And then not only that, this was just it was a hell of a match too. I kind of figured Goto would be able to do it, but I thought they did a really good job of like teasing Finley still being just right there, because you can tell with the anticipation in the crowds a couple of times. And I think that's probably, and as we will see as we continue to go on with Goto's reign, I think that element of it is something that we don't really see, especially in modern day pro wrestling. I mean, think about even as much as people wanted Moxley to go down, it was still for a while, in my opinion, a time where you're like, oh no, Moxley's not going to lose, or we know about Roman's reign, or even with Cody, and now we get to Cena, and we to the point to where it's like, yeah, Cena is this and that, but I doubt he'll lose this one. But Goto, because of his history of always being that guy that can put on an impressive performance and be just right there, but he has a history of years of not being able to win the big match. And for this version of Goto, this newer version that became champion, and still being able to show that heart, that passion, and which is another thing that is just unmatched by Goto at this stage of his career. Again, I think his run and matches like this is a great example of why his run was so necessary and been so great for this company in this stage, in this era where we're not really sure what to even really call this era. We're in a transitional period right now, and I think Goto, as a vet, stepped up in matches like this with another great young talent who, by the way, it's rumors. It's the reason why I'm not off the David Finley bandwagon, but because of his ties to WWE and just his history in this company, even AEW, we know that he's getting worldwide interest as one of the top guys in probably the second guys in the company next to Zack Sabre Jr. So we know Zack don't want to go anywhere, but David Finley's future has been in the air. We don't even really know the details of his current contract situation. So, but for Finley to still be, in my opinion, one of those guys, like I said, that's the reason why I figured Goto would win. But they did a good job in this match, still making you think, oh my God, Goto, he might lose this. So again, this was a really great match. I would definitely recommend people to go back, and if you don't even watch the show, definitely check out this main event, because Goto and Finley gave it all.
Yeah, well, like you said, not only was it a great main event, but a great show overall. And Gina, I don't know about you, but do you think it's because the product's getting better, or just because we know the talent now and because we understand it? Do you know what I mean? It's maybe clicking more into place. But I think like that whole show itself was like we knew basically everybody, seen them before and kind of know their journey, if you know what I mean, in a weird way.
Definitely. I will say that watching a lot of New Japan over the past 2 years or so has got me more familiar with everybody on the roster. And I think that helps to solidify how deep some of the rivalries are, things like that. For me, like there are certain, wrestlers that stand out to me still, because I remember them from the start of their rivalry. And, some of them are like Yota Tsuji and Yuya Yamura. I still remember when they had was it the hair fight?
Yeah.
Hair for hair. And I was so invested in that, and I had no idea who any of these wrestlers were when I was getting started into that storyline. And to kind of see that feud still have some beef to it, in this event was quite fun to watch, because I felt that. Whereas if I hadn't started watching a few years ago, I don't know how deep their feud truly was, and I felt like that for a lot of the other wrestlers on the roster. It was just nice to feel familiar with them. And like you said, I pretty much knew everyone that was on that show, and they showed a lot of people on that show. So I was quite proud. I was quite proud of
Exactly.
myself.
Yeah, it's even like funny. We've got Owen. It's like, oh, you were tag team champion when we started watching. Now you got the heavyweight title. Like, yeah, we know. And
Exactly. You can see the growth that they've had.
yeah, without doubt. And again, he's been a great face champion. As a face champion should be, looking, every challenger in the face and going, bring it. We'll do Windy City right quickly, which is April 11th. Just the results, basically. The 30-minute Iron Man match for the strong openweight championship. Tomohiro Ishii defeated Gabe Kidd in sudden death. Zack Sabre Jr. defeated David Finlay. World Heavyweight Championship. Gosu defeated Shota Umino. The Young Bucks made an appearance on the Titantron to challenge for resurgence. The Never Openweight Championship match, Takeshita beat Roshi Tanahashi. This was a banger. This was Tanahashi's last American match. And Monty, again, I don't know if it is or not, but he's wrestling the best that I think I've ever seen him. It's just a shame I missed him in his prime, but you can tell just what it means to him. And Takeshita just seems to be another level now as well.
Yeah, it's probably 100% the best you ever seen him because Tanahashi's last really great shape before his knees and a lot of the injuries kind of caught up with him was probably 2018, 2019 before the pandemic. So you got to think about it. By the time we were all covering this together, Tanahashi had been through the pandemic. He's slowing down in a lot of ways, and he was like before that around 2018, he was still kind of injured and slowing down, but like he still was top level Tanahashi, and I think it's kind of crazy when you think about, like you said, how much he's been able to put into some of these performances, and I think it's like you said, it's just a completely different mentality. Japanese pro wrestlers, they kind of look at this a little bit differently. Like mentioned earlier, to compare to John Cena is a fair comparison because of who they were for both of their promotions for so long. But it's also unfair because we know John Cena is not only hasn't been full time for a long time, but he also has other obligations that we know are most likely playing a factor in just how much he could give us. But like you said, for Tanahashi to be able to be doing this with young talent, up and coming talent, people he have a history with, people he don't have a history with, friends, new opponents, for him to be doing so much to on his way out, just in my opinion, is a testament to, in my opinion, that he's stopping because I don't think his body and also his new responsibilities as being one of the heads of leading New Japan from a backroom point of view. I don't think he can do that and maintain his body and wrestle the way he used to. I think he knows that, and I think that's why he's stepping down more so than maybe a Cena, who is most likely stepping down because of his other obligations and just not being, like you said, feeling. He's mentioned it in the past. He feels like it's time to let new people take over and do their thing. And I don't know if Tanahashi, like I said, Tanahashi, and because we know New Japan, Japanese wrestlers can wrestle until they're 50 and 60. I don't know if Tanahashi would tell you I'm moving aside because I think Shota Umino or this guy could be the guy. No, he's doing it because he feels like, because like I said, his body is different and he just knows. And honestly, whether people want to admit this or not, do not underestimate the effect of a guy like Okada leaving, and then like the stuff with Naito now, Shinsuke Nakamura being gone. Like his entire era of guys, for the most part, are either like a Ishii and still doing their thing, and like Goto and all that. But Tanahashi was before a lot of those guys. He kind of watched them become who they became. But to see a name like Okada leave, to see where Naito is now, a lot of these guys that he kind of mentored to be those next guys are gone from New Japan. In my opinion, that plays a factor too in your willingness to go forward and, as far as an in the ring aspect. But in my opinion, like you said, James, he's definitely been performing top level, and that's just a testament to how much I think he still really cares. I just don't know how much his body can take at this point.
Yeah, but this was really emotional and a good show overall, a bit long. And then Road to Dontaku, April 19th, Tanahashi beat Jeff Cobb. I think I've watched every match of Tanahashi this year, actually, and there was thank you Jeff signs. He was crying before they locked up, and he also vacated the tag titles, but more on that in a minute. I mean, Jaxie, the thing is like, it's all well and good crying and go, oh, I miss him, but you are leaving, aren't you? So again, it just seems a
You
bit
sound like Naito used to.
well, yeah, but it's true though, isn't it? Like you're going to pasture. I know it might be upsetting, but if you
Yeah,
cared that much,
but
you'd stay.
I mean, but you can't deny that there's, some people that actually do have like probably great memories from there. Um, I don't know how many great memories Jeff Cobb probably had, but he clearly made himself there, so he got emotional towards the end. Sometimes it can happen. Give the man a break.
All right, fine. Monty, where would you rate Jeff Cobb? Like I said, New Japan run. I know it wasn't legendary, but I remember he was the guy that kind of beat Okada in G1s even back in the day. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, he was always a formidable opponent. I mean, he probably had the number up on a lot of guys 1-on-one. I would put him kind of in the Goto category when it came to like the big matches. He never really was that guy, even though he definitely won his share of titles and tag belts and open weight titles. Like he's done what he's achieved a lot. And like you mentioned, I think his name was set. I mentioned Naito because Naito said that when Shinsuke left, and he said that when Okada left about crying in the ring. And I don't know how deeply we're gonna talk about Naito, but Naito also cried. So as much as as much as I want to say, it's like you can say that all you want, but like it's an attachment. Jeff Cobb mentioned it in his backstage interview where he almost cried again. That he has an attachment to that place, because like mentioned that not only is that the place where he kind of found himself and became who we know, but and I'm gonna be honest with you, Jeff is 42 years old or in his early 40s. He mentioned he didn't watch his dad pass away. He didn't watch a lot of stuff pass away. He probably just want to be closer to home. To one factor, and then also whether it's greener pastures or whatever it is. Like I said before, and I mentioned it when I talked about my one of my goat Shinsuke. WWE style is not New Japan style. He don't have to wrestle half as long, half as much, and he probably get paid more. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm.
to talk about somebody who in their early 40s and try to act like you wouldn't take the comfortable job at this stage of your career is just that's just speaking out without knowing all the facts. In my opinion, I'm never gonna say he probably don't care. And I just think sometimes as New Japan fans, when you see a guy leave, you just don't want him to go. That's all it is. You don't want him to go. You want him to stay. You want that. So you say stuff like that. But to be honest, it makes perfect sense in my opinion. At least from a perspective of the individual. I get that.
Mm.
But again, Jeff, in my opinion, achieved about as much as you can achieve as a foreign. You gotta understand. A lot of people act like when you were a foreign guy in New Japan that oh man, if he didn't become world champion like Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega did a lot of people that did a lot of stuff that most foreigners did not get a chance to do in New Japan. Like he was that guy. He's the only one to ever win the G1 out of all the great foreigners we know have been over there. So to win championships, to be prominent for the last 8 to 9 years in the New Japan circles, and like you said, having victories over Tanahashi, having victories over Okada, having victories over Naito. I mean, Jeff Cobb established himself greatly over there, even if he was never the guy, even if he never was an Osprey or a Kenny Omega.
Yeah, nah, fuck him. Sonata teamed with Ren Narita and Kanemaru for the first time versus Driller, Ishimori, and Gedo, Renpin Gedo. A build towards the dog pound steel cage match. I hope it's not like last year. And LIJ faced just three of them actually, as Yoshihashi and Uno in an elimination match. And Bushi confirmed his with Naito. And I wasn't going to mention it, but Monty, seeing as you did, one thing I can get with, and Gino, I'll ask you this, right? I can get with this, is Bushi going, you know what? I'll go with you. For a guy to stick with his friend, that means a lot to me. That does. That does.
Oh, for sure. Especially because we know how often they like to show betrayal in wrestling. It's really nice to just see, someone staying loyal and, sticking with their comrade. It's kind of rare to find that nowadays.
Exactly. Exactly. And Monty Naito leaving as well. But will he be back? I mean, it's been a couple of months since I think we talked about this on the anniversary show. So there's been a couple of months. Have you calmed down a little bit?
I mean, he's seemed to be legitimately a freelancer. They won't let him have his music. He seemed to really be beefing with the company, at least from a perspective of creative ideas. But I don't know why he thought they would. I mean, New Japan owns the song, so it would have been nice if they let him have his song. But from a respect point of view, but I understand both sides of it. Right now, I think he's just getting himself together. Like, you gotta understand, man. The guy had like 2 eye surgeries in the last 8 months. He got to get his knees together. I heard he's possibly seeking stem cell treatment. So I honestly believe right now, until him and Bushi start doing freelancer dates that I haven't really quite heard much about, until he start doing other dates around Japan or maybe even America, I think he's going to get himself together health wise before we can make a decision. Now, will you see him back? I'm pretty sure because he's a freelancer. I don't know if he'll ever sign another exclusive deal, but because he decided to be a freelancer, And because we've seen a lot of people, we're gonna see Tajiri, we've seen a lot of Jun Akiyama, we've seen a lot of people who usually, I mean, Suzuki has been a freelancer for as long as I've watched Suzuki. Suzuki was a freelancer from his whole Suzuki Gun run in New Japan. He was a freelancer. He still is a freelancer. So yes, he could definitely possibly come back. But the fact that they're already kind of disbanding the idea of LIJ and all that, it seems like the company has moved on from what we come to know Naito and LIJ to be. And it sounds like Bushi and Naito have moved on too. So I mean, to me, I don't know. I don't know when or how we will see him come back, but it's hard for me to believe he will never be back. But yeah, the way it was, I don't think it'll ever be that way again. The contract talks broke down. And again, it is what it is. I actually at this point, because I saw how many people were emotional and talking about what it's gonna be about, like Tachi, like really his comments about, because he's 100% right. Guys like Tachi, Goto, Yoshihashi, they was here when that big three Tanahashi, Okada, and Naito were dominating. So now it's up to the guys like that to lead for these young guys. Everybody keeps saying, "Oh, the young guys got to step up. Young guys got to step up." Yes, for the future they do. But guys like Tachi and some of these older people of the roster, we see what Goto is doing. Those guys, Ishii, those guys are going to have to help get us there to that next era, because I do think that's important too. So I don't know. I mean, I've definitely come around to the idea. It's still very weird to me because I just can't picture Naito anywhere else or doing anything else. But at this stage of his career, I just hope he's getting his body and mind and stuff together, because I don't even want to do one eye surgery, much less two in the last 8 months.
Mm. But it's interesting you talk about independent dates. If you are in the UK, listeners, you're interested maybe seeing Naito, he will be appearing with Bushi at Red Pro Summer Sizzler in Wolverhampton. I think
There
that's
you go.
July 25th. And speaking of Red Pro as well, so that was my kind of break into independent, no bit away from New Japan, but that is available on demand now, much like New Japan World is. So it's very, very easy to access, without a doubt. So anyway, we'll move on. April 26th, Wrestling Red Zone, the IWGP tag titles, Bishman versus Callum Newman and Great O'Khan. Newman got the pin on Yoshihashi, and you got new tag team champions. Jaxie, talk about tag team division. What are your thoughts on Callum Newman as well? Because they're obviously saying like this is the next Will Ospreay. That's basically what they're saying.
Um, well, I mean, I couldn't say that I agree with that statement, mainly because I don't watch him often and weekly enough to really make a comparison. So I'm going to hold off of actually saying whether or not I agree with that statement. But this came as a shock in terms of I haven't seen much come from the United Empire when it within winning gold. But again, I've not watched it in a while, so this could be new to me. But it does seem that there's like a lot more aggression that has come from Callum Newman. I think he's really finding himself as a wrestler and finding like sort of his style as he continues with the United Empire. I do think that this was a good move and a good call for him to join up with a team like this, because I feel like he does, like, unlike Sonata, he does like kind of come across as having like some of the similar values that United Empire do have. But yeah, this is something new for Callum, and I think that this is a step up for him. He has been with this faction for a while now, so it's good that they're actually giving him a shot, and especially with someone tagging with someone as great as the Great Okan. It was a fun match, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, now April 29th, we've got Hizen no Kuni, ELP Big Rat account to become Strong TV champion again. He called out Takeshita afterwards. We had new IWGP Junior Tag Champions as Master Wato and my boy Yo won the gold. Best in the Ichiban Sweet Boys. Thank fuck for that. And Despy defended his title against Templario. No, not Naito's tag finisher, but a CMLL wrestler. And actually seen him before, but he's part of United Empire. And to be fair, he showed up in AEW a few times since then as well. So, Monty, that's always handy, isn't it? If a wrestler, I'm not sure, then I go, wait a minute, I've seen that fucker before, and then it's on Dynamite or whatever it is. But again, that's the working relationship with CMLL, I guess.
Right. Yeah, that's just how it works these days when it comes to I'm gonna be honest with you, James. Like I was watching backstage comments, and I just seen this guy. I forgot exactly who. I think it was Jeff Cobb's speech when he was ready to leave, or it was something like that. And I'm like, who the hell is this guy in the mask with the with the United Empire colors? So it definitely made me, try to seek out like more information. But yeah, it's kind of like Teton for Lij, who's always kind of recognized as a member, but he's spent most of his time in CMLL, so he's kind of like one of those, like he's like not a fringe member, but yeah, kind of like one of those type of deals. And like you said, AEW is great when it comes to CMLL. Not necessarily getting to know the people, but you will see them. You will see they will pop up. But they love that. If it's not Mystico and maybe Hechicero, I've gotten to know the Beast Tortos from AEW. So again, I don't know most of these guys. I wouldn't know them at all. But thanks to Tony Khan's erratic booking and seeing them every now and then, I've gotten to know them. So
Yeah.
that's a plus, I guess.
Exactly. It's good. Collision's there for a reason, I suppose. We move on to Dontaku, May 3rd. We've got El Fantasmo versus Takeshita for the World Television Championship, ending in a time limit draw. And you will not go wrong seeking out this match, actually. One point, Takeshita collapsed for he could do a run knee and it heightened the drama. Even CD was playing possible. I don't care. Gina, like I talk about, Takeshita can do no wrong. You know, if we were doing, and we don't, like a 6-month award, he would be my, wrestler of the first 6 months of the year because everything he touches is just shit hot at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. He's really hype in both AEW and New Japan at the moment. He really did smash it. This match is one for you to go and watch. It was just so good, and there was such a great back and forth. And like you said, I like the fact that he played possum. It kind of gave a little bit of a, Eddie Guerrero vibe because he was quite the possum player. But again, I just still love it, and I think like Takeshita still is in his hype era, and I think he needs to continue to be pushed because he's definitely popular with not just backstage with other wrestlers, but he's popular with the fans on both the American side and New Japan side.
Yeah, exactly. You can tell what it means to him because, again, you heard stories of him wanting to apply to New Japan and being rejected and, having to work his way through and, doing a thesis on like German suplexing. So you can tell the guy loves wrestling and it obviously kind of shows. Speaking of people that love wrestling, well, Zack Sabre Jr. defeated Hiroshi Tanahashi. And again, this wasn't too bad, but Jaxie, I'll ask you about Zach's booking because obviously as a former world champion losing it, he's there in the picture, but not kind of in your face at this moment in time, it seems, still picking up victories over the likes of Tanahashi.
Yeah, that was a good match as well, but with Tanahashi, I think both of them like really showed their strengths and they worked really well together. Um, but I did kind of have that sort of lingering question myself with where's Zach going from here though? I mean, as much as it's great to have a defeat over, a legend such as Tanahashi, where is he going from here? Because I really haven't seen much or heard much of many accomplishments so far coming from Zach since losing that title. I'm just wondering, like creatively, where he goes next from here. Like, does he do another attempt and a run at the going for the title again? Does he go for a different title this time? Does he look to go to the tag division? I'm not too sure. Maybe Monty has a better idea of maybe the stuff that's been foreshadowed. But so far, I'm kind of not sure where things are leaning for Zach in terms of for the rest of the year and what they've got planned out for him.
Well, we shall find out as we continue the show. Up next, Shingo defeated Shota Umino, a pumping bomber so powerful it could have been felt in the arena. Somehow wasn't enough to put Umino away, left the crowd in rapturous chants from the Dragon, and Shingo ended Umino with the last of the Dragon for the win. As Umino lay with bloody nose, Shingo shows signs of disrespect and smack talked him, and then Takeshita at nearby commentary table. But again, Monty, I can see why you like Shingo so much because and again, if I was going to compare it, it would be Sheamus. Do you know what I mean? Like it's banger after banger, and he'll put his body on the line.
That's why the hell I want. That's why I want Sheamus to get in the G1 and fight him one time. I know the height difference might scare people, but I promise you, will be able to match that physicality with Sheamus. Believe it or not, that was definitely would be a classic in my opinion. Yeah, man, Shingo is just he's unbelievable, and like he's always been that way. That's why I figured if they were going to keep the Lij brand alive, I know Hiromu was like honor is basically been anointed leader by Naito because of their relationship and their history. I mean, they known each other 16 years, so I get it. But like Shingo said, he wouldn't have never joined Lij if it wasn't for Naito and Bushi because they trained together in the same gym in Hamaguchi gym back in the day. So it's a lot of history there. And Shingo is definitely one of my picks as like the heavyweight leader because he's just there, man. He's always going to be one of those guys, in my opinion. You mentioned Zach, in the title picture, but Shingo's another one of them guys who, in my opinion, no matter what other belt he's fighting for or whatever else he's doing, he's a guy who's always hovering around and possible, in my opinion, to be world champion again because of, like I said, he's just consistent. You can count on him. He's just one of the best in the world by far and have been that way for a long time. And you mentioned the disrespect after the match, but he also he kept that disrespect going. Shota Umino was like, "Oh, Shingo, basically, I would love to fight you again and again because you make me better." That's basically the energy that Shota was giving in his interview. And Shingo was like, "Man, I can't believe y'all thought this guy. Y'all, come on now, y'all don't think he's better than me." She goes literally like, none of you guys in this room think Shota Umino is better than me, and that's basically the energy he was giving off. And like, I love that because that's just the energy that Shingo always has. He's one of the best in the world. He knows it. He fights like it, and he's gonna bring that fight no matter who it is. And Takeshi, another guy who basically, like from a size perspective, you think, oh, why Shingo think he can? Man, Shingo will knock, and as you will see, he can knock the hell out of Takeshi. So yeah, man. Shingo again. He's my energy. I'm not the tallest guy either, so I'd like to think I'm like a short tank like Shingo in a sense. So everything about Shingo, in my opinion, is just makes him one of my favorite wrestlers in the world. And yeah, he's definitely picking up that slack for me for a guy who losing his favorite wrestler. Shingo is definitely one of those guys who I can definitely place for a reason to keep up with what's going on because, like you said, man, you can count on him to go out there and give these type of performances.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like you talk about, Shingo is just a different level. And then the main event, Bullet Club, War Dogs, Clark Connors, David Finlay, Driller Maloney, Gabe Kidd, Taji Shimoshi defeated House of Torture, which was Evil, Ren Narita, Sonada Show, and Kanamura in a steel cage, dog collar match, whatever you want to call it. And Crimson Soap Kid, where Narita's biting off his skull with a headbutt and a lariat, and they grind each other's flesh on barbed wire wrap table, painted everything with their claret. Kid then concluded the match with a pole driver to Narita on the side table for the win. So the House of Torture are now out of Bullet Club. But it wasn't over there as Evil handcuffed Finney to the cage and wrapped the steel chain dog collar tightly around Finney's neck, leaving him to hang in unconsciousness. So Gina, I mean, I was like, and they're the winners, are they? Do you know what I mean? Finley's the winner.
Yeah, I mean, again, at this point, I just had no idea which way it was going to go, so it did kind of shock me when the ending hit. I was like, oh, okay, that's what they're doing with it. But yeah, I wasn't mad at it. It was still entertaining. Everyone wanted to kill each other in this match, and I was kind of here for it because it's not something you don't see as much brutality like this usually in New Japan. So it was still quite interesting take to see.
Yeah, but again, I mean, compared to last year's ended careers, you know what I mean? So maybe they had to tone it down a little bit, which I
I don't know
think
why they
is
decided to
correct.
do it
That's
again.
That's
Yeah.
not a bad thing, though. We would like to keep our wrestlers, even though we want entertainment and we want chaos. We still would like them to come back next week.
Yeah, we got the Rita's Crimson Mask. I mean, effort from everybody, you know. So, again, this is kind of the fun that we have at the fair. Night 2, May 4th, Stardom Showcase with Hazuki. I'm going to get all these names wrong. Kogima and Mikey defeat Starlight Kid, Azume, and Yuna Mizumori. Tajiri. Yes, that one. With Chikazan Ryosa, Yo Toriyanu, and Hiroshi Tanahashi defeated TMDK. I mean, if you didn't see it, Tajiri looks old. All right, and again, Monty, I'm not being ageist or anything like this, but seeing Tajiri with grey hair does make me think to myself, fucking hell, I'm old, you know?
Do you really want me to break this to you, James?
It wasn't that long ago Tajiri was in WWE, surely. What is it, 10 years
I
ago?
had to Google his age. He's 54.
Oh my God.
He's
Yeah, yeah.
54 and
You
he
know,
has a
you
head
got to
of
remember,
white
he
hair. Did he dye the hair
I
white?
must admit, I was shocked to see
no,
how stark gray,
he just
gray
Yeah.
he was.
he stopped dyeing the hair. Actually, that's what happened. He stopped dyeing it black.
Like,
That's what happened.
I mean, I have to agree with James. I feel like it feels like he's aged too rapidly for his age.
Hey man,
Yeah.
he was in ECW.
But he looks
He
good.
might
He looks good.
he
He
enjoys a
still
little
looks good.
sake. You know what I mean? Might enjoy a little sake, a little Japanese whiskey every now and then. You know, he don't seem to get a lot of rest if you look under his eyes. I mean,
I'm not
hey,
actually saying that that's a bad thing though. He actually looks good. Like the white hair actually suits him. But I was so shocked. I did not recognize him at first.
Mm.
yeah, no, that's the first time in 15 years he's been in New Japan. So yeah, it's a lot of people's first time seeing him in a
That
while.
was his first time in 15 years. Whoa.
Yeah, he hasn't been in New Japan since it was a completely different company the last time Tajiri was there. So, yeah, man, this is just one of those. Again, another thing that makes the tour for a retiring legend like Tana so great that they bring in guys who don't even work for their promotion, haven't worked there for years. And again, like imagine if you could, bring Coach back to fight John Cena one night just because we know they were great rivals. You know what I mean? Like that's the type of
Hmm.
stuff that you're seeing here when you think about the quality of this retirement tour. And unfortunately, we know why stuff like that can't happen. On this side for Cena, but yeah, man, like that's the type of stuff you get for this. You get guys coming back, guys who haven't wrestled in a while, just coming out to wrestle or work a match with Tanahashi before he's done, because that's the type of respect he has. But yeah, it's been a long time for Tajiri, but it was I'm again, Tajiri is one of those guys. I credit Shinsuke Nakamura for getting me into New Japan or getting me into Japanese wrestling fully. But before I knew anything about the world of Japanese pro wrestling, Taka Michinoku way back in the gap
Hmm.
when I was younger, and Tajiri were the main imports from Japan that spread it how great Japanese wrestling can be. From the kicks that Tajiri did and from the high flying style that Takamichi Noku used to do back in the day, like they really set a tone and really spread. They were great ambassadors for what Japanese wrestling was and what it is. So it's really cool whenever I get a chance to see Tajiri because I see them in like an indie show over in America, like one WrestleMania weekend, WrestleMania 35 in New Orleans, and like it was so cool to just watch him spit the mist in somebody's face. And like I had a friend who, well, not a friend, I didn't know him, but some dude in New Orleans wanted him to spit him in the face, and I'm like, you can do that, somewhere else. I don't. You're not gonna get no mist on
You
me.
get
But
paid
yeah,
extra,
yeah, you get
yeah.
this somewhere else. But it
But
was
you're
great.
right.
Anyway, I love the Jets.
Yeah, no, you are right. Because again, a lot of people, I mean, I say a lot of people, even my generation, Great Moods talked about Tajiri's like the Great Mooter to me. And I know it's going to hurt a lot of
Right.
people. Go, how can you say that? But that is the first, like you said, that and Takamichi Noku. And it's wild in 2025. They're in matches back to back of each other on a New Japan show
Right. Exactly.
because
Still
the
going.
next, the
But
next match.
again, to say that
Sorry, go
he's
on.
like 15 years out of the ring and he started off that match going one on one against Zack Sabre Jr. and he looked like he hadn't lost a day. He was keeping up with Zack and the tension was just there. It was so great to see that he's not lost that edge.
Well, and how great for Zach as well. Do you know what I mean? To be involved in that, because again, if we're like this, he's basically the same age, so he'll have the same kind of memories.
For sure.
Right.
You could even see the respect in Zack's eyes and he even shook Tajiri's hand at the start of the match to show that respect, which was really nice.
Yeah, without a doubt. So we got Los Ingobernables, Takahashi, Shingo, Naito defeating just four guys, which was Tai Chi, Takamichinoku, and Umino. Naito and Busho, this was their final match, and and again, nice touch. As we see, the backstage comments was I don't say a little bit more emotional than maybe we expected, but I think a nice way for them to bow out. And then we had the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship. Yota Tsuji defeating Yura Uemura. This was the 51st singles match between the two. I mean, Jaxie, we talk about, Cena and Orton been at it a lot. So these guys have faced off 51 times already. 22 were time limit draws. So
Wow.
you talk
Yeah,
about
I
as a young
mean,
lion.
exactly. I think it also just goes to show you, I mean, there's going to be a never-ending feud between those two if they've already wrestled this amount of times against each other. I don't think neither one is letting go, but you could just tell like how well they work in the ring together. The trust is there, and they each time it doesn't feel like a repetitive match between them. There's
Yeah.
real animosity, and you can feel all of it going into that match. Neither one wants to actually give up and be the loser. So each time is very entertaining to watch them, and I think that they're just getting even better in the ring. They're improving so much, doing so much more, and keeping you enticed.
Yeah, without a doubt. Gabe Kidd confronted Suji after the match. Yes, I'm all for that. And then IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, Rocky Goto defeated Callum Newman and got to agree to defend the title against Zack Sabre Jr. at Resurgence. And Shingo gets his title shot at Dominion. And Monty, this is what I'm talking about. Because Callum Newman, yes, not a big challenger, but then got is like, yeah, I'll take you, Zack and Shingo said, I'll take you both on, just work out the dates. That's the champion I want.
Exactly. I mean, he's taking on all competitors, and like I said, it's a confidence that you kind of have. Like, and I have no problem admitting this, or at least thinking this from my perspective, especially when you think about the World Heavyweight Championship and what it's been going through. And like I mentioned, as much I appreciate the story of, or at least I love what Moxley was doing, but I understand fatigue and a lot of fans, started not to. And same thing could be said with like the inconsistencies and what we've been going on with John Cena as world champion. But what you've been getting from Goto as world champion is just like on another level, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
When you just think about, like you said, a true fighting champion. The match output has been consistent. From the style of match he's working, and just like the performances you're getting consistently from him and from his opponents. And just like you said, the willingness to take anyone on, that confidence that, like I said, is a newfound confidence that he's never, even when he was open weight champion, those many times, he never was with this type, he never fought with this much passion and energy. And I believe it when they say he's fighting for his kids, because that's the type of energy he's putting into this run. Which again, and you know how this business is, John. It's hard to kind of portray that something like that, because that's such an emotion or such a situation that a lot of people may not even be able to relate to. But like he is doing a great job of putting off the energy of someone that every match counts to him, as if his kids are watching his every move, and this is the example he's trying to set. And like that's just like makes his run even better, in my opinion, with the way he's been portrayed as a world champion. Like, he's definitely been, in my opinion, the world champion of 2025 so far.
Yeah. And to be fair, he's probably been my favorite world champion since I've been watching New Japan kind of full time, if you know what I mean. I
Yeah,
know it's just the vein, and I know other people. Again, I've heard people actually complain that he's defending his title against too many, young guys and old guys rather than top contenders. So I guess no one can be really happy, when it comes to
it's always
uh,
something.
championship. But yeah, you're always comparing, aren't you? Like you talk about earlier, you
Right.
compare it to Okada or Omega or something like this rather than actually what you got in front of you. But I guess that's a bigger issue for people. May 9th Resurgence. Just the notes for this American show. B. Priestley returned to New Japan. The former Blair Davenport did look good, I will say that. Templar and TJP defeated the world-class Wrecking Crew to win the strong tag titles. And Monty, I want to ask you this quickly about TJP, because he's not been featured a hell of a lot, and I know he's had a lot of issues. Well, I don't know what to say on Twitter or stuff like this, but talking about Bushi Road, the company itself. So, are there issues at
Yeah.
the moment, or what's going on?
It's really interesting, man, because like you say, he's one of those guys who seem to have distanced himself from New Japan, or at least from like a part of New Japan, but he's still showing up for some of these American dates, but he's not, like I said, he's not doing much. He's not really booked. It was up in the air in January whether or not he was going to be going to AEW or signing somewhere else, but it doesn't seem like that is taking place or has or will take place. So it's really one of them things where you just kind of got. I'm going off whether what I've been hearing in the group chats and what people have been saying just about his relationship, and that's kind of like the unspoken part of a lot of these departures that's going on, and that's the reason why, as much as I think some of these, that's why I am like you, James, in the sense to where it's like, dang, I wish y'all would just stick it out because New Japan, blah blah blah. But at the same time, some of these relationships seem to be splintered, and like even when you got a guy like Naito having problems getting talking to the company and all of that or doing that, I'm not and then you hear the stuff with TJP. And then you just see like even Jeff Cobb and all of that people leaving. You wonder like, is it all just greener pastures, or is it because of that relationship with Boosie Road being a different game now than not what they signed up for, or not what they became used to over the years? It's really interesting, man, when you really think about it, because I'm like, I thought TJP had the potential to have a breakout year this year, to be honest, and he hasn't. And if you really pay attention, other than Best of the Super Juniors, I mean, it's kind of left for Kira to kind of do his own thing in a sense, and like in a different role, which I'm sure, like I do think Akira can shine, but they had a good thing going. So it's really interesting to really think when you really see what's been going on. But I don't really know. I don't know what the future lies with him, man, because I've heard so many different things. I've heard contract disputes. I've heard he's going somewhere else. So I really don't know. It's kind of like one of those things. He's kind of in limbo right now.
Yeah, it's weird because again, you hear, oh, he's going to be next leader, or he's going to move up to heavyweight, and then just kind of nothing. So, it's an interesting situation. The Young Bucks team with the Good Brothers to beat the War Dogs, and apparently the Bucks didn't take a payment for this, so good for them. Takeshi to beat ELP, and the world title match between Goto and Zack ended in a double pin. I mean, why would the referee do that? I hate this situation. I mean, it just winds me up. What can I say? Zack was pissed, and I don't blame
I
him
was a bit
either.
annoyed with that as well, to be fair.
I mean, how fucking stupid is Jax? I mean, how many times? What's going to happen? The referee going tap, especially like two
No, but
shoulders, whatever. Go,
he
my
could
job is done.
easily see that they were both pinning. Like the smartest move a referee could do here is be like, you can't both do it. Like I'm not going to count it because otherwise you both like. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what this booking decision or the decision behind it, if not only to further the story, but I think it was just quite an annoying booking, to be honest.
Yeah, doubt. In the main event, triple threat, Azume pinned Mina pinned Mina to win Monet's strong women's title. She, of course, was in the match in a triple threat. And Gina, the crowd here was shocked. I'm not going to lie. Again, I'm not going to compare it to like, I'm taking the street, whatever that. But again, the crowd was not expecting it. And this was a very fun, and it's good that it was the main event as well.
Yeah, I love the fact that it was the main event. And yeah, as was I. I was also shocked, to be honest, because again, I'm not very familiar with the name of sort of every single belt that she's got, but with the hype that she has right now, I was just not expecting her to lose this. I really was not. So I could definitely feel how the crowd felt watching this lose. But either way, it was still a great match. I love the fact that they gave it the main event as well, because again, it's rare, especially for me, because I only tune into the big main shows of New Japan. I'm aware that I'll find the ladies' matches on Stardom. So it's interesting and rare to see a ladies' match on the show, let alone the main event. So yeah, it was really enjoyable to watch, and I'm happy for the other one, but I still felt like Mercedes was gonna go for holding like 10 belts or something for like a world record.
Yeah, without a doubt. It was fun though. And then I'll tell you what else was a lot of fun. The best of Super Juniors. I am planning to do a full review elsewhere. I say I'm planning. I've still got, I think, 20 episodes of New Japan Strong to put out there, but it'll all come together at some point. I did watch every match of the best of Super Juniors, and I will say Nick Wayne did impress. And again, I'm not a huge Nick Wayne fan, but he did all right, you know. And if anybody saw, I don't know if anybody saw Ninja Mac with the Super Ninja Special. I mean, I think it was on everybody's feed in the end. I mean, Monty, if anybody didn't know Ninja Mac, you'd at least know his Super Ninja Special now.
I'm not surprised it went viral because Ninja Mac is insane. He just like he does stuff like that. The fact that stuff like that is a normalcy for him is just insane. It's insane when you really think about it. But yeah, man, it definitely was one of them things that I wasn't really surprised that it took off because it's just it's an insane spot too. Like this one of the things that just make wrestling so fun because he's like you're overwhelmed by how many flips. Like even the opponent is overwhelmed that he's still flipping. So it's such a hilarious spot in a sense. If you could just cut your brain off and not be like, why don't you just stop him from flipping? But it's definitely a great spot because again, he's insane. He has some great performances too. You're 100% right. I mean, Best of Super Junior is always one of those times where New Japan, again, kind of like the G1, they get a chance to flex their muscle from a in-ring wrestling standpoint. And a lot of guys got a chance to show a little bit more than what they usually get a chance to show as the year goes out in some of their feuds. So yeah, man, it was a really good tournament, and man, Ichiban Sweet Boy, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was I'm not saying I wasn't the biggest fan of him, but when I was watching him as a young lion, I don't know if I thought, and I can say the same thing about Suji. I don't know if I thought they would be where they are so fast, and maybe a lot of that got to do with where we are in the company right now. But you know what I'm saying? It just to watch them go from that when they were bland to and just like a young lion still learning to where they are both are already seemingly in their career. The sky's the limit.
Hmm. Well, anyway, I'll say before, Yo is my man. Like, I was going to lay dibs on him before anybody else does. All right. And I will say Taguchi made me piss myself laughing. I don't actually mean piss, but you know what I'm saying. His antics unbelievable. I can't believe this is the same guy who faced Osprey. I will never get the Styles clash with the guy's head in his trunks out of my head ever again, I don't think. And also,
David had one of the greatest Super Junior matches of all time, and you wouldn't believe it because he's such an idiot. But
honestly, like it's crazy what he does. Like, and again, the cameraman blocking like his ass with the bottom rope and stuff like that is just genius. Not only for the cameraman these arrays and stuff like that, but everything else going on. But it was a serious competition, and like I said, Fajita did win. He'd become the youngest ever winner at 22. And Monty, I think that record will be quite hard to beat. But another controversial thing was that usually the title match would then happen at Dominion, and it was changed to the New Japan Soul Show.
yeah, I mean I don't know, man. Some of the stuff they're doing, I kind of understand trying to switch up the formula a little bit, but yeah, man, it's just kind of like for me with Zach winning the world title a little early. It's just one of those things that's very jarring when you're used to things going one way, and then they make a change, and sometimes you kind of get it because I kind of understand trying to be fresh. Then other times you're like, okay, did we need to necessarily? Do this match in the soul on the soul card instead of where it's usually placed. So I don't know, but it's definitely a lot of long time New Japan fans have a lot to say about that.
Yeah, about that. Right, so we move on to Dominion, and this is New Japan's second biggest show of the year. And we start with House of Torture, which was Ren Narita Sanada and Takahashi, with mystery opponent versus the Bullet Club War Dogs. Sanada emerged during House of Torture's entrance looking like Giant Gonzalez. All right. However, it was the new House of Torture member, Farley, who stole the limelight, much to Chase Owens' chagrin. Rechristened Don Farley. He no longer represented Bullet Club after 12 years in the group, about the longest serving member, if I'm right. Maloney attempted to aid Owens to finish off Sanada with a guitar shot, but Owens then hit Maloney with a low blow to the shock of, no one.
Scumbag.
Sanada finished off Maloney with a guitar shot, and Chase Owens joins Bad Luck Farley as a member of House of Torture. I mean, fucking hell, come on. Jaxie, can we just say fuck Chase Owens? And again, I don't know how Farley is wrestling,
Yeah,
but like I said, he's been there 12 years, I suppose, so I'm not going to
I
argue.
mean, to be honest, I think the audacity at Chase Owens at even like kind of like acting like he was shocked about Fale when then he just kind of comes up with his own betrayal. It's just like, the fucking audacity. Yeah, things are turning to shit right now for the Bullet Club. They're losing team members, left, right, and center, and it seems like House of Torture is doing something right. Like, what are they offering them? Like lollipops and ice cream.
Do you know
Like,
there is 11 members of House of Torture at this point in time?
and like again, going back to what Sonata was wearing, what the fuck? Monty, care to explain?
I got nothing for you. I mean, maybe he been reading the internet and everybody telling you he sucks. So he's like, I'm okay, I suck. I dress like a wrestler who historically sucked. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you about that outfit other than at this point, it's kind of like a lot of people are trying to figure out what Seth Rollins style is, and how they come up with the outfit Seth wear. Now I'm
Yeah,
wondering who is Sonata paying, not in a good way though. Like who the hell are you paying for some of
yeah.
these fits? But yeah, I got nothing for you on why he decided to do that. Oh, maybe you know what? I got you. Symbolism. Bad luck Fale. He's a big guy. He's like 6'4". Giant Gonzalez. There you go. That's the connection. He was giving you guys a little tease.
Right,
Like
right.
we got a
Well,
big guy on our
He's
team
so
now.
smart. He's so
yeah.
smart.
That's why Monty's the best. TMDK, Ryo Oiwa and Zack Sabre Jr. defeated El Fantasmo and Shooter Umino. Hiroshi Tanahashi defeated Uemura. And Gina, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little bit sorry for Yuri Uemura. Even looking here, I didn't know how many times he lost in the past few months. Even Tanahashi, who lost to Shooter and other people, still beats him. So I want Uemura to have his moment soon. Like I talk about, even losing in the hair versus hair match.
Yeah, for sure. You got to think like he's kind of playing his due diligence now. Like, when is his uprise coming? Because he is like, he's being used a lot, but he is being used as like that man who's gonna always lose out to you. So it'll be nice to see his turn come up soon.
Up next, this really fucking got under my skin. House of Torture, versus Master Watto and my boy, junior heavyweight tag team titles. But a show blamed Watto for the injury suffered to Kanemaru before revealing his new partner, returning Doki, and the pair immediately dispatched Joe on the outside, show that Doki up for the basement dropkicks while he's held the champion's legs. Kanemaru revealed his injury was a ruse. Obviously, he spat whiskey in Yo's face, and Dookie skewered his arm and knee into a hold that strained both to tap him out. As Show forced Joe to watch. I mean, not Doki. I mean, come on. Monty, what the fuck is this? Isn't this the guy who was challenging like Despy for most popular junior heavyweight, and now he's come back, and it's just what is this? What is this? What is this?
Again, first of all, at this point, we just got to commend Evil's recruiting. Him, and Dick Togo. I don't know who's head of recruiting in the House of Torture, but they've been doing an excellent job, man. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you other because a lot of people got those questions. A lot of New Japan fans they were not necessarily happy about this one, and I don't know. I'm one of them people who wasn't necessarily unhappy about it. Only reason why is because I feel like eventually Doki is going to get back to where he's going to get back to Despy. And Despy's popularity is still unmatched. As popular as Doki was, I don't think he'll ever be as popular as El Desperado because the fact that Desperado could be a death match wrestler at this point in his career still and just get the reaction that he get out of those people, I just don't know. So maybe that's what the company thinking. They're thinking, let's just turn Doki into his big brother's biggest rival, and let's turn him into a scumbag. I think the thing that makes this so crazy or makes this worse is because we just had Fale and Chase join. You know what I mean? It'll be different if this was like an original move. I feel like for him at this point, because Conor Morrow at this stage of his career, he's probably not a full-time guy anyway. So the whole lie about his injury was funny to me in the first place because it's just like, okay, sure, but to have Doki teaming with Show, I can see them being a good little heel team for Best of Super Junior or whatever. So I get it from like a certain perspective, but yeah, man, it was definitely shocking and like not necessarily in the best way. But I think, in my opinion, the only reason why I don't like it is because we've already had so many defections to this same group, literally on the same show and literally the last show. So it's just like, you know what I mean, the last big show. So yeah, it's just like it's making me feel like you guys are creatively bankrupt, and when you don't got something for somebody, hey, give them, let Evil take them. we don't know what else to do with them anyway right now. So that's what it
fair.
feels like, if you know what I mean. But I feel like if it was more of an original move, and maybe if he did it in a match against Despy and turned on his brother more or something like that, then maybe we can get behind it because at least we see an angle from it. But to do it this way and to, like you said, take somebody who was that popular and turn him for just it feeling like just because, yeah, I get why people were sour.
It's the Wesley of heel turns. Thank you very much. And
Yeah.
it's just going to be awful. And if Evil wins tonight, then House of Torture rule New Japan. So hope that doesn't happen. We got Tai Chi and Tomohiro Ishii defeating United Empire, Callum Newman, and Greater Khan for the IWGP Tag Team Championships. I mean, Gina, that tag team title reign lasted long. And again, it's weird because Ishii is not been a permanent fixture, but he shows up and they're tag team champions now.
Yeah, definitely. This was another sort of tag team surprise because, like you said, Ishii, I kind of feel like I've seen him more on AEW TV than he's been showing up on New Japan recently. So to award him, maybe giving him the belts is like, yeah, come back to Japan more frequently, Ishii, please, because you're the champ now. So
Yeah.
I suppose that's what they're trying to do. But either way, I'm happy for him because he's been consistently going on to AEW TV wrestling, having great matches with, veterans and young new stars. And it's just great to see. So, if anything, it's really nice to see him rewarded with another championship reign of some sort, regardless as to what championship it is.
Yeah, without a doubt. Two belts, Ishii as well. Let's not forget he's strong open weight champion as well. We got Boltin Oleg defeating Takeshita for the Never Openweight Championship. Like two rampaging bulls, champion and challenger clash. The pair matched lariat for lariat twice, with Bolton left standing each time. And it was Bolton trouncing Takeshita with a kamikaze for his first New Japan title win, the first Kazakhstan champion in the Japanese promotion as well. But Jaxie, I mean, hot damn Oleg. We talk about Takeshita, and then this big fucking beefy fucker comes along and does this.
I mean, yeah, this match, James really does not do it justice. But for someone who has gone so long with being undefeated, this was a great showcase for Boltin Oleg. I think this match started and I was kind of like, oh, Oleg's not got this. Takeshita's coming out on top. Halfway through the match, I'm actually going, no, I think Oleg actually is matching him. Like Takeshita is having to work his ass off during this match, and there's a lot of the time where you see a lot more of a playful Takeshita in the ring. Like making fun of the opponent, putting him down or belittling them, and their level of wrestling compared to someone like him. So to see him like actually show real struggle against Boltin Oleg, I think this was a great match and a great showcase of Bolton, really becoming or improving, sorry, to a point where now he's not to be messed with. He's to be questioned. Okay, he took down Takeshita like a lot of us failed.
Yeah.
So there's big stuff in store for Bolton, I think, at this point, and I was quite pleased to see he was able to take him on like this.
Yeah, and also I think it's interesting as well with him, like I said, the untapped potential of I'm getting Terminator vibes. Do you know what I mean? Like a young Arnold. Like I can just imagine him as like a hill just hunting
Yeah, I
down the
think
face
he
and not
needs to get rid
stopping.
of the hat, though. He needs to get rid of the hat.
Hey, he's from Kazakhstan, I'm sure it will change
No,
after a while.
I get it from that point, but if you're talking about an Arnie,
Yeah, you don't want
yeah.
to come out dressed as Terminator with a hat on. Yeah. We got Evil defeating David Finlay in a dog collar death match. Just as Finley choked Evil with a chain, Evil did the same to Marty Asami, referee. House Torture attempted to interfere, but the War Dogs came to his side. Evil moved his collar through a table at Finley, and rejoiced as Don Farley dropped onto Finley at the same table, literally just dropped onto it. With his Darkness Scorpion hold assisted the chain, Evil choked Finley into complete unconsciousness, Monty, I'm really worried that Evil is going to beat Gotu and to have full control of this company now. Please please stop it. House of Torture are just growing too strong right now.
Hey man, I love Watanabe. I love Evil. Evil is always gonna be somebody that is evil as he is, and he's at his, like you said, he's at his peak. For a minute there, he was a joke, but I think now with all you got the big three leaving and all of that, they looking at that merch and they see the House of Torture is selling tickets for them right now, and I don't think there's any more proof of House of Torture being one of the hottest acts in the company than the fact that they have everybody in the world joining them. Again, this is one of them situations where I think kind of like you mentioned, James. They did that in that cage match. We know that the cage match is usually a big blow off, especially as physical as those matches get. But after you lose a cage match, they still put you over and make you, take out basically the leader of the War Dog. And so like him coming out and then being able to do it again, and now you got guys like Fale being able to be one of the people interfering for him. You're 100% right. He could definitely be the next guy. And as we continue on and we talk about the G1 and all the things that possibly could be coming up, Evil is somebody to watch. He has, like you mentioned, 11 members total. He has a chunk of the roster on his side for a team that was already interfering in every match he had anyway. So at some point, it's going to be too many numbers for even Zach, Goto, whoever it is. You know what I mean? It's going to be too many people for these people to overcome. And as a matter of fact, you thought the Death Rider was bad. What about House of Torture New Japan? Not forget Death Riders AEW. House of Torture New Japan. That could be the future.
I'm just glad that I've starting to like House Torture a little bit more than I did, because I would have given up by then. Do you know what I mean? I've still got hope in the faces to get the job done, but like you said, I'm still not sure. But it'd be interesting to see. And then we got Gabe Kidd versus Yota Tsuji for the Global Heavyweight Championship.
Insane.
Invoking Claudio's swing, Kidd sank into a deep Boston Crab. Tsuji mustered enough spirit to cause a rope break. The champion traded shots for the challenger, with one echoing with a heavy wince. Kidd withstood 2 Gene Blasters before destroying Tsuji with a Death Rider and Power Driver combination to become the new champion. Kidd gave Tsuji his props for directing his attention to Tanahashi afterwards, opened up the ropes even to a sign of respect, and he challenged Ace to a match in the near future. But I mean, Gina, we talked about the start of the year as well, about Gabe Kidd and what this year could bring. And at this point, Gabe is the man. And I think these two guys, like as we mentioned before, are the faces, and this is what the future looks like.
Oh, definitely. This was such a good match. And to be honest, I had all the faith in the world that Tsuji was going to retain here. So I was, pleasantly surprised to see the change in it and the loss that Tsuji took. It was such a good match, and I've just found myself more and more invested in both of these guys. And like you said, it feels like these guys are the future of New Japan, and to keep your eye out on these guys and their journey.
Yeah, Tsuji's focus will be the G1, and then we've got Hiroki Goto versus Shingo Takagi for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. After an unsuccessful GTR, Goto chipped away at Shingo as the 30-minute count ticked closer and closer, but Goto ultimately retained his championship after one last GTR. Jaxie, I mean, Goto was the only champion to retain here, but this felt like just two warriors just going at it. You know what I mean? To the death, it seemed.
Yeah. Again, it kind of gave me similar vibes to how matches between Tsuji and Yumera go. Like they just neither one wanted to stay down, and you could tell it was probably due to sheer exhaustion where Goto was able to kind of like ultimately get this win. But I think if this had gone any longer, this could have gone either way. It was a good match, and I think it was something that again yet proved that Goto is not just a tag team wrestler, but that his solo wrestling career is thriving just as much.
Yeah, without a doubt. So that was basically their big show, and I thought it was really, really good. We'll get thoughts on anything in a minute, but what I want to do quickly, Monty, is it's a stable update. Because I've got finger on the pulse of quite a few things, but the stables in New Japan are something that changes quite often. So if you can help me out, so basically, Los Ingobernables or ILJ, they're no more, aren't they? They're gone.
Right. Just three guys who or I don't even think they want to say they're Hantai, but they probably closer to Hantai than anything else right now. But yeah, just everybody else is the faction
But
itself
what
is
is Hontai as well? This is what confuses me because they're talking about Hontai like it's a thing that's been a while, but I haven't heard
it
of it.
used to be called Taguchi Japan, but Hantai is basically Tanahashi's led faction, and it's basically the baby faces. When Chaos were the main heels back when they existed, when Okada ran it with Ishii, Goto, and Yoshihashi back in the gap, they used to be the heels, and Hantai was Tanahashi's faction, which is like Taguchi and common newer faces, and sometimes goddamn, I can't think of Yuji Nagata and Kojima, stuff like that. Tenzan, they used to be. That is basically the babyface locker room is the way I like to sum them up, because that's basically who they are.
Right. Okay. So you got Hontai. So LRJ, just four guys have gone as well now. So
Right,
just
they're
just
Hantai. If you notice,
they're
Tati
Hontai,
teaming with Ishii, right, that
right?
makes them Hantai because Chaos is Hantai now because when Okada left, Chaos died, so
Right.
they
So no.
became basically along with Tanahashi.
Okay, gotcha. So at the moment we've got Hontai, LIJ no more, just four guys no more. Bullet Club War Dogs, we know Gabe and his group. We don't know if Finley's still a part of it at this moment in time, but you know what I mean. That's we know that group.
Up in the air,
House,
yeah.
yeah, House of Torture with like I said, 11 fucking members and growing. United Empire but as we spoke about,
Yeah.
at this moment in time, because Greater Khan doesn't seem that happy either.
Yeah, they're still holding on for now, but yeah, I mean, Hanare has to return. At this point, when Hanare come back, he might be out for torture. Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, man, Okan, you only got Okan, you got Callum Newman, like you said, Templario, and then Akira, and then like we said, we don't even really know TJP's status if he's even associated with them at this point. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Unless they have a couple of more honorary members, I don't know about. I'm not sure about, but yeah, they're holding on. But yeah, we'll see we'll see what happens over the next few months. Maybe Okan can what happens is to me when the Osprey left and they decided to go no leader, they've been pretty much directionless ever since. So
Right.
Okan or somebody needs to step up and just carry the flag legitimately if they're going to continue to exist.
And then obviously we've got TMDK, and even though Taylor and Vaughan not really a part of it, obviously with Zach and Oya were,
Yeah.
and a couple of people there as well. So I mean, Jigna, that makes perfect sense at the moment, don't we? We kind of know the lay of the ground there. I think it'd be fair to say.
I think so. Yeah, I think that was a good recap.
Yeah. Anyway, so we've got the New Japan Soul. Where unfortunately ELP suffered a knee injury, so couldn't compete on the tour. And Gina, ELP, we've talked about, had a lot of personal problems, and this is horrible considering with a knee injury and being champion that it just doesn't look too good, especially with the G1 just around the corner.
Yeah, for sure. This is so unfortunate to hear because he came off such a hype from even some of those pay-per-views that we've just reviewed. So going into the G1, I think he definitely would have been, one of the top ones to keep an eye on being very successful throughout the shows. It's just really unfortunate to hear. And there are a couple of wrestlers in the same boat as him who just can never seem to get away from injury or just unfortunate events that have happened that take their time out of wrestling and away from wrestling fans. So yeah, it's just so unfortunate to hear, and my blessings go out to him for a speedy recovery.
Yeah, without a doubt. And then we had on that June 21st, we had Hiroshi Tanahashi's final road kinship. He beat Tamaki Honma. The crazy old bastard, he pulled out a shot, but Tanahashi used his head to win. This is the guy, Honma, who just throws headbutts. He's like a 65-year-old man who just does that all the time. It's fucking brilliant. Main event, Boto No Leg, Shota Umino, and Goto versus Zack Sabre Jr., Oiwa, and Hartley Jackson. Oleg pinned Hartley, who's basically the Bushi of TMDK. June 23rd was the playing matches for the G1 qualifiers. Tomohiro Ishii versus Driller Maloney, and Driller cemented himself as a heavyweight. And Jaxie, again, it's interesting because we mentioned Ishii being, a double champion, but it's Maloney who, again, has changed his look, new tattoo and a haircut, bulked up, and
Yeah.
he looked quite good, doesn't he,
He does. I think, G and I definitely made this distinct comment. I'm not sure. I think it was during maybe even the cage match at how different he looks, but also his demeanor, his character. He's a lot more serious. I think before, especially with the long hair and the girls coming down with him, he had this sort of laddish lifestyle, didn't really take wrestling seriously, but there's definitely a different aura about him at the moment. There's a lot more anger coming from him, and he is one of the ones that I see as loyal to David Finlay, loyal to the Bullet Club. And I think that this is the beginning stages of maybe seeing him thrive. He could actually have a really good showing in the G1 too. We never know. I'm not sure if he's been confirmed as being part of the G1, but I think at this point it would be stupid not to include him because he seems to be standing out well within himself.
Yeah. Well, this will say this Driller winning this match meant he qualified for
Ah,
the G1.
that
There
was
was
right. That
Yeah,
was the
there was
qualified
four
match.
open. I didn't really explain that well, to be fair. It's kind
Yeah.
of my fault.
Okay.
There was four open spaces, and there was going to be four matches to fill, two spots on block A and two spots on block B. And it actually
Right.
meant as well, after this, the tag champions aren't in the G1 as Callum Newman beat Tai Chi. Now, I'm going to hold
Oh.
fire on this because I went off at this because I was like, fuck Callum Newman. Why is he there for over Tai Chi? But I'll calm and I'll explain why more in a minute. The big shock, the big Tanahashi Jam event wasn't on New Japan World, which was on June 28th. It was a TV special. All right. And usually you think, with TV specials, like Saturday night's main event, or whatever it is, nothing much would happen. But Monty, Zack Sabre Jr. beat Hiroki Goto to become the new IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. It was pretty big fucking news.
It was highly rated too. I heard the people of Japan really
When was
enjoyed it.
this? When was
Yeah,
it? What's the season?
this was June 28th. It wasn't on New Japan World.
This
I had to
happened.
find it due to other means, shall we say. It was a
Mhm.
whole show they did as well with Tanahashi
How did
starting the
this go?
show and main eventing, but it had this world title match in it.
How did this go so quiet and none of us knew?
Well, I watched it.
Oh,
I
shut
was
up.
about to
Okay,
say, yeah.
whatever.
I mean, trust me, when the Goto match, I definitely knew because it was a very beautiful Goto story of just about that. This is a typical. This is the match I expected when they fought the first time, because again, I've watched Goto lose these matches so many times where it's like you even start to doubt him. But this new version of Goto, man, the crowd. I don't know if you did. You I don't know if you noticed it, James. Did you hear the way the crowd? It was kind of similar to Jay Uso to me when he kind of passed out with Gunther, and like the crowd just was like, "Oh." That's how it felt when Goto couldn't get out of Zach, his hole.
He didn't quit though, did he? It was
Right.
Red
He never
Shoes who
gave
made the
up.
decision. So fuck Red
Right.
Shoes. Do you know what I
Right. He
mean?
never
Like,
gave up. But like the people when they realized he couldn't get out, you could
mm,
just hear them be like, just like, dang, even though they respect Zach, that's how loved Goto as champion and just how loved he is in general at this point, man. So it was a really great match, and it was kind of unfortunate that it wasn't on World for people to kind of get a chance to see it, but it's definitely worth to watch. And you're right, James. I wasn't really expecting that. I was probably actually expecting Goto to retain because of that, but because it went the way it went, I think that actually played a factor because not only did it make like headlines around the world because Zach was champion again, but it was also just one of those things that we didn't expect because of how well the run was. And I saw a lot of different opinions, Jane. As much it made me question how much do New Japan fans who watch really love Zach. I saw a lot of people. Oh, this is a mistake. Goto deserved belt. He should have been the champion through the G1. But from what I also hear, which we'll talk about soon, Goto was fighting through a lot of stuff, which we'll talk about right as we get into the G1. It wasn't just in this match. Goto was fighting through a lot. So when you add the fact that Goto was basically fighting hurt through a lot of this reign, I don't know how much better run you could get from Goto than that, man, because he was unbelievably special. And hopefully one day, I don't know when, I don't know how bad whatever Goto has going on is, but hopefully him and Zach gets to running back, whether it's before the end of this year or whether it's next year, or however they decide to do it, because I can watch Goto and Zach fight forever, especially in that, because again, Goto is just such a good underdog.
Yeah. I mean, the way he just couldn't escape, it was heartbreaking, really. And again,
Right.
I love that match for the next man, but I was not ready for that title to change hands. And Gotti's run has been my favorite, like I said, of me watching New Japan. Apparently, he does have an elbow injury. And even worse news, he has been taken out of the G1 as well.
Yeah.
But there is rumors, and I don't know how true they are, that he might be cast in a new. I don't know if it's Street Fighter film, wherever. I'm not really.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true or not, but
Me either. Because the casting is insane for this movie, if it is true. Because Roman's supposed to be in it, Cody Rhodes. Like, who the hell is booking? Nobody. I haven't seen one actor. I've just seen all wrestlers for these Street Fighter characters, and I'm just like, what wrestling fan is the casting director for this movie?
I know, it's crazy. And so, Gina, I'll ask you this again, because again, it's a shame we've got his reign ending like this. We don't know if it's an injury or not. It's just a shame because we've got the G1 coming up, and he would have just smashed it,
Yeah, again, this would have been the same situation with how hype he came out of the past few events that we've just discussed. It honestly feels like such a shame because he came out on such a hype from those shows, and you would have expected him to be one of the top contenders within this G1 too. So yeah, it's just really disappointing, and I don't know where it will go for them, how long they're out for exactly, but I just really hope that it's not too long that they can come back and continue their hype.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And then July 4th, we had the playing qualifiers for the G1. Yoshihashi defeated Chase Owens. Thank fuck. Ryoya defeated Kojima. Kojima was replacing Farley, who had left the tour due to personal reasons. And thankfully, Yo Master Watto and Toriano won the 6-man titles off House of Torture thanks to the old bag on the head. We always like to see it. And in the main event, Gabe Kidd defended his global title versus Tanahashi. This was beautiful, man. I mean, I'm not just talking about the wrestling in itself, but even Gabe's journey. And again, I know what it's like, people suffer mental illness and everything like that, and it seems like a really bad thing to talk about. But Gabe is so open in his journey, and even the backstage comments, Monty, of him saying Tanahashi was a guy ringing him every day when Gabe didn't give a fuck about himself, but Tanahashi did. And that I'm getting emotional now talking about it because that means a lot. To have a guy sticking with you, even when, you're not feeling at your best.
That's what life is all about. A lot of times it's like for those people, or those who's with you and who you can count on when you don't feel like anybody else can. Those are some of the most vital and important times in everybody's life. We all go through our ups and downs, and we all kind of cope and get through things in different ways. And I remember those days. I mean, he like you said, he's been very open about not only the pandemic, but just like being kind of like just how tough, his young line days, and even before that, how tough it was on him mentally. And like you said, for Tanahashi, again, this is not President Tanahashi. This is not somebody who's obligated to have to do any of that. You don't have to check up on a guy just, whatever. That's him seeing not only how special Gabe can be as a wrestler and how we know, what we can see the talent that he had, but that's somebody seeing who you truly are as just a human being and being able to be that person that you can lean on when you need them. And so, yeah, man, there's always been one of the greatest things about Gabe, which is one of the reasons why at the end of the day, no matter how vulgar or how insane he comes off as a character, you just want to. He's one of those guys that he may come off as like somebody you probably don't need to root for, but you always want to root for a guy like that when you know more about him and kind of like why the standoffish energy and just help everything he brings to his character on television seems very real. And if you've ever been through the ups and downs of mental health, you know just how very real that can be and how important it is to have somebody, whether it's a coworker, whether it's a family member, whoever it is, to be able to just check on you and, like you said, care about you when you feel like you don't care about yourself. And again, it was really, really beautiful to hear that. And like you can see it also in the wrestling too, just how much they both wanted to not only have a good performance, but just how just how special this potential match, all this whole entire situation, it seemed special for both of them. And the funny thing about that is Tanahashi's been accused in the past by other younger guys for, seeming to be more involved in himself in the past and all that. So to kind of hear that perspective on what Tanahashi has, kind of like what he's kind of evolved into as a locker room leader, as the guy of New Japan, like you can't ask for much more than that, because that takes a very special human being to take the time to do that, and then again to be there for somebody when they need it.
Yeah, without a doubt, real emotion. And then July 6th, last night of Seoul, and we got Hiroshi Tanahashi and versus defeating Tiger Mask even. So it's been a long show. Tiger Mask will retire in July 2026. And Monty, we did speak about this as well with Tiger Mask announcing his retirement. He has been he's been Tiger Mask for 30 years, but there have been other Tiger Masks before him, if that made any sense. Yeah.
Right. He's not the original Tiger Mask that kind of revolutionized and made the character, but he's carried that mantle, like you said, for a long time. He's one of the most reliable and counted on junior heavyweights. It's kind of like Liger in a sense. I don't really want to compare anybody to Jushin Thunder Liger, but Tiger Mask is definitely one of those monikers and characters that when you think about New Japan growing up, you think about Tiger Mask. When you think about, I know a lot of Tekken fans out there. If you know King, that's Tiger Mask all day. It's probably based more on the original, that King character, but still, it's the same ilk, same type of just style. People grew up watching the cartoon or the anime of Tiger Mask in Japan, so he's a big deal. Always been a big deal, and always been one of the best in the world. So to watch him have to say goodbye again, it's just one of those things. I always knew that the guys like Yuji Nagata, and this really hammers, in my opinion, just how unique Suzuki, Yuji Nagata, Kojima, some of those guys who are still going and still leading the locker room. Even my guy Makabe, who still shows up and leads the young line. The fact that they still go out there, even if they can't go the way they used to, when you start seeing a lot of these legends like this start to bow out and finally say it's time to go do something else with their life professionally, or whatever, just finally relax for a change, it really hammers home that point of just how unique some of these other guys are. But yeah, man, nobody deserves to go to hang up the mask and and do their own thing more than Tiger Mask. And it does make me wonder, because the moniker has been passed before, would somebody take on the pressure of being the next Tiger Mask? I don't even know if I would, to be honest, because you got like two or three legendary wrestlers who've worn the mask already, and that pressure is what it is. But we'll see. You never know. It might have another Tiger Mask before you know. I think we already got another Hayabusa who done popped up, which is another legendary Japanese wrestler. So you never know, man. In Japan, you never know.
Also, we got the G1 Climax 35 last chance playing gauntlet, because Gosu couldn't make the G1. It was between Taichi, Chase Owens, Kojima, and Tomohiro Ishii, and Taichi finally did it. This was such an emotional moment. And again, Monty, I don't want to keep Gina, Jaxie, I apologize for going Monty, but Monty, I know how much Tai Chi means to you. So
I didn't see any of this, so it would be best to get Monty's views.
Good. Because he loves Tai Chi, and he's a guy who's he's been so close and been wanting to be in a G1, just not made it in recent times.
Yeah, man, he's always won. He's always been, like you said, just right there. And he's a guy who mentioned this when like Naito was leaving. He has been there. He was a guy who was under Naito, under Okada, under Tanahashi. He watched those guys dominate and was often was a joke for a big part of his career as a super junior and all that. The people used to tell Tachi to go away like X-Pac. And when you see them now, when you hear the crowd now, when Tachi is having a match, like it's the polar opposite. They love Tachi. He's like it's very similar to Goto when it comes to underdog, but instead Goto was always a guy who was really good but just not there. Tachi had times in his career where people thought he was really bad. So to really come so far, kind of like Yoshihashi too, in a sense. Yoshihashi is another guy that Tachi relates to really well because they kind of had that label as losers, and they just have reinvented themselves in so many different ways in the ring. And I just love everything about Tachi. Like the whole, I know Angel Garza had the gimmick for a while, but nobody snatches their pants off like Tachi. That is Tachi's gimmick. It's been that way since day one. If you look up some old pictures, Tachi used to be a very handsome young man, and they used to make fun of him for snatching his pants off. So it's very funny how that's one of the most over things that he does. Now, the axe bomb or the super kick, everything about Tachi, in my opinion, is just awesome. And now that you have a guy like Zach in position as world champion, to not have the potential of Tachi, because we know him and Zach's history, because in my opinion, his team with Zach really is what brought him to this new level as a wrestler, in my opinion, and brought him up. So it would be really beautiful if we could see the potential of a Tachi versus Zach world title match one day. Because Tachi has always been a guy who always wanted that opportunity, always wanted to be the man and be that guy. But again, it was like Naito in a way. Then you got to deal with the Okada, who was just another, a whole nother monster. And then you got Tanahashi. There's always been other guys that were placed in front of Tachi. And, because of that, he has had this groundswell of popularity that has gotten him where he's at now. It would have been a crime, in my opinion, if Tachi wasn't going to be able to take that spot. And I don't know, again, how well he can do in the G1, but I'm definitely going to be rooting for him every night because that Tachi is one of my guys, and he goes out there and give it his all, no matter what. When he was a junior heavyweight, all the way to now, he's always been 100% in the ring guy, and he's only gotten better.
Yeah, well, and we got the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships. Sho and Doki defeated Joe and Master Wasso. And in the main event, IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship, El Desperado, who was coming off a fucking brutal death match, basically. He had like a death invitational pay-per-view. And his opponent escapes me, I apologize, but it's the guy, once you see him, you won't forget. It made Moxley and Page look like child's play. I honestly, I'm not kidding. But Despy somehow picked himself up and in his 7th title defense managed to defeat Vegeta. But again, it's just Despy I fucking love at the moment in time. He's unbelievable. And the young guy, like I said, 22, that record will not be broken, but just not good enough for Despy. And Despy's like, look, try again and come back because you will beat me at some point. That's what I like about him.
Exactly. Like he's always had that energy, man. He's one of those guys who's one of the most nonchalant. Again, it's typical. Again, like kind of like Naito in the past, he doesn't really give off the energy if you just listen to what he has to say. As somebody who cares a lot, but his performances show you how he feels and how much he loves this business. Like you said, he does deathmatch invitation. I mean, he's also a freelancer, by the way, and that's how he's allowed to go out there and kill himself and still be able to just perform whenever he can for New Japan. So, I mean, El Desperado is, and I don't even know how to explain him at this point because he's become such an anomaly. It's kind of funny because similar to Tai Chi, not as much because him and Kanemaru was a great tag team in Suzuki-gun, but similar to Tai Chi as far as a singles wrestler goes, Desperado wasn't really looked at as to be for example on Hiromu's level as a face of the junior heavyweight division. And in my opinion, if you think about the last 4 or 5 years, Desperado has surpassed everybody in the junior heavyweight division, has become one of the most sought after talents in Japan. they are those death match shows sell out. Like he's a draw all to himself in his own world, and still able to, like you said, run the junior heavyweight division the way he does. So I'm just hopeful that he can stay healthy, everybody can stay healthy, and we get that Doki match one day. But the funny thing is, now that I think about it, with Doki being a House of Torture, it might be a completely different match
Yeah.
this time. But we'll see. We'll see what the future lies for Despy. But he's one of the greatest champions in Super Junior in New Japan's history, and he continues to add to that legacy with every defense. It's insane how somebody like Despy, because he's another guy who's I think he's getting older, but he seemed to be getting better. Like it's funny how we kind of have that conundrum. You got some guys who you can see that the body is not being able to do what maybe their mind wants them to do. And then you see some guys like Godo and Tachi and Desby who are getting older, but seem to be just right where they need to be as far as their prime goes.
Yeah, without a doubt, and we talk about Despy as well. We talk about draws in New Japan on who's bringing in tickets. Those talk about House of Torture doing well. Of course, Tanahashi in his last year will be bringing in people, and of course Goto's title reign. But Despy, I think he's main evented six, or the title defenses has main evented 6 out of 7 shows. So it just shows you. And if he's having his own, like I said, the Soul Show was sold out mainly on the back of Despy, and it just shows you how important a junior heavyweight champion can be, and someone like him as well. Like I said, really, really impressed with his stuff. And the last thing to talk about, because we are nearly done, is the G1 Climax 35. It will commence on July 19th. Yes, that's next weekend, and conclude August 17th. We will review the whole G1 at some point, and we're also going to give picks. But it's a bit unfair, Jaxie and Gina, to put you all on the spot now. So we'll give you a couple of days to come up with the picks. But Jaxie, let's just run through A block and get your thoughts on it. Because on A block, we're going to have Callum Newman, Botan Oleg, Yuri Uemura, Yota Tsuji, David Finlay, Evil, Sanada, Tanahashi, Taichi, and Oiwa. What are your thoughts on that?
That's quite a team. That's quite a group. To be honest, there's a lot of opposites on there that are going to clash. You got Suji and Yuya on there that are going to clash at points. You got Finlay and Evil on there that's going to definitely clash. You've got Bolton Oleg in there who could really make a strong stand in the G1 very early on. So yeah, there's quite a lot of excitement with that brand branch, at least. Off of the backbone, those are the first few ones that came up in my head that are going to stand out. So we'll see where Block A goes.
Right, and B block Gina is El Fantasmo, but we're not sure if he's going to be able to compete or not just yet. But he said he's going to be okay. Shota Umino, Shingo, Zack Sabre Jr., Greater Khan, Gabe Kidd, Ren Narita, Takeshita, Yoshihashi, and Drilla Maloney.
Yeah, that's quite a packed block as well. I'm sure. I feel like this is not the end of the beef between Shingo and Umino, because there was so much beef throughout the previous pay-per-views we just covered. So I'm sure that that's going to stay ripe. And Drilla Maloney has been drilling through people, so I'm going to keep my eye on him over this G1 as well. He's been one to keep an eye on. It's nice to hear that Takeshita is going to be in it again, because he's been so hype in New Japan at the moment. So yeah, it looks like a really strong group.
Yeah, and what we're going to ask for as well is just who the winner is of the G1. You can give us your top 3, as I thought it was going to be semi-final, but Monty, you were explaining about the G1, how it's a top 3, isn't it?
Yeah, they're doing. I think this year, from what I understand, they're doing the top 3 from each block, kind of playoff type of deal like they did last year. So basically, the top person in the block will automatically go to the semifinal. And what happens is the second and third people from each block will have to fight each other to determine who fights the top person in A and B block. And then they fight it out, and then the finals happen, which is A block versus B block, basically. So basically, if you want to do 3, you do 3 in each block that you see being in the top 3, and then you decide how you choose your winner. At least that's how I've seen people listing what they think going on, but again, you basically if you just wanted to list your winner, I understand it's a lot simpler that way. Uh, but for my top three, like I mentioned earlier, James, I think that we're going to definitely see uh, uh, Yota Tsuji in the top three, most likely leading the block or A block. I wouldn't be surprised though if like I said, I mean not Tachi, but you are more, or even like I said, Evil, who has a chance. I mean, he has half the roster on his side, so you can't doubt Evil. And then don't forget about Dave Finley. He's also in A block, so we know him and Evil will definitely fight again. It'll be interesting to see though. I'm gonna say Suji Uemura and Tai Chi. Tai Chi is in a completely emotional pick. Honestly, I'm just hoping he performs well, but I'm gonna put him in my top three. And then B block, I'm going with Shingo, Zack Sabre Jr. because he is the champion. He's gonna perform well. He might be the leader of B block overall, but we'll see. And honestly, it's tough because there's a lot of great talent over in B block. But I'm going to show the Umino to get that last spot because I just don't doubt them making him perform well. Now, to be fair, this could be the perfect opportunity for them to have a down year and him not make it far. But I'm still mostly sure that Schultz will probably perform well enough to get into that playoff. But I think overall, we're going to get a final, in my opinion, of Yoda Suji versus either Zach Sabre Jr. or Shingo. And I'm going with Yoda Suji to win the G1 this year. And he seemed like perfect time, in my opinion, to give him that rocket and just send them off towards the Wrestle Kingdom main event. Or if they decide to do what they do last year and do it before that, I don't know. You never know, but I just think that it's time now. Yoda Suji is in perfect position, in my opinion, to take off and do what I think he's meant to do. He is the leader of that new generation, in my opinion.
Without a doubt. And Jackson G, to just give you an idea of my picks, top three of A block, I've gone Suji, Evil, and Finley. Top three for B block, Gabe, Zach, and Takeshita. But I reckon Takeshita is going to beat Zack Sabre Jr. And get through to the semi-finals to face Gabe. Well, no, come on. It will give us a title match later on between Zach and Takeshita. But I know you say no. Anyway, and and the other and then the other semi-final will be Suji versus Evil.
Oh,
That's what I'll go for. And then the final will be Gabe versus Suji, continue on their feud. But that's just my idea.
okay.
Well, I'll
Well,
take a look at the
I can
lineups and
give
then
you
I'll send you my thoughts.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
have
give
a
you
look.
the
And
random top three of A block
you
A
don't have
and
to give
block
random.
B.
You can take your time. You've still got evolution predictions to do. So I suggest you do
Yeah.
them, and then I have a
Yeah,
go at you about New
okay.
Japan in a couple of days' time. All right.
Yeah, I'll send them to you guys.
But yeah, I think Jaxie, you're in a better place now, even with G1 picks. We've bang up to date with New Japan now. Like I said, it starts Saturday. We're in a good place.
Mhm.
We all understand what's going on, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel more well prepared going into this. So that was probably with the help with this podcast too.
Well, what can you say? And Gina, like I said, have a think about it because this is maybe think outside the box, but then again, maybe not.
I mean, I will definitely try to think outside the box, but I also am not going to lie and saying that I'm probably going to go with a lot of my favorites,
Okay.
because I know them best. So I'll do my best. I'll take a look at the lineups and truly think about it. But if I'm not sure, I'm just going to default to my favorites.
No problem. That's what I've done. And Monty, finally, was just your thoughts on New Japan. We do it with WWE and NXT and AEW. So, what are your thoughts on New Japan? I know it's not what you fell in love with. Maybe New Japan's put on a bit of weight. No, I shouldn't say that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you did right not going there.
Yeah,
I know exactly where you're going. No, I mean, I'm not. I don't necessarily. I think at first, uh, like I said, it was a transitional period for a lot of people who are already used to a lot. But I think once I kind of sat back and looked at the comments and just got back into that mode of, you know, watching New Japan from the unique perspective that I had, even AEW has helped in a sense because like I harbor a little bit of resentment in my opinion towards what AEW was becoming, not for any fault of their own. They're just doing good business, but like I said, they are by far that second option that New Japan always was for me. And for me, for a while there, when New Japan was at its best and had a lot of the foreign and the Japanese talent, for me, New Japan was my number one option for great pro wrestling before WWE kind of started to get their shit together in a sense. So I have a special place in my heart for New Japan. So like you said, it was always going to be difficult when you see so many of those people that you watched and you've seen develop either retire or choose other places to work. And it was an interesting period. But sitting back and watching the comments and just listening to a lot of those impassioned speeches and a lot of those different perspectives on where New Japan is headed, and also just watching the product again. I still think New Japan offers something unique that the other products don't offer, even with AEW's you know, not necessarily, like I said, not that there's anything wrong with this, but even with AEW collecting the talent that they have, I still think New Japan has found a way to still be uniquely themselves. There's nowhere else you're gonna get some of the stuff that we see. We talked about it today. The faction turnover, just the honesty and the cursing and all of that, of the energy behind the backstage promos. You're not gonna get that anywhere else, and that's always something that's gonna be kind of unique to New Japan, and something that I don't want to take for granted just because the faces are a little bit different or the focus is completely different than what it was. Is New Japan perfect? Is it where I would like it to be? Or, like you said, is it what I love when I watched Shinsuke Nakamura versus AJ Styles many, many years ago and made me a fan, and, with Naito and all of that? Like, no, it's not that. But I don't think there's anything wrong with the product either. I think it's just different and it's becoming something else. We're in a transitional period, and it's gonna take a while for them to figure out exactly what type of focus that they want to be now that they don't have not only the Ace, but Okada and like Naito. You got so much change happening. It's hard to develop an identity, but I do think New Japan is still uniquely New Japan, and as long as they offer that, I will always keep an eye on them, always come back just for that experience alone. So I'm in a way better space than I was the last time we did this. But anything can happen. They can screw all of this up, and I'll be very, very angry in like the next time. When we review the G1, I'll be very, very pissed. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, man, I don't know. I'm also happy with the fact that you allowed that, just how involved you've gotten, because that motivates me to be like, you know what, this is not only something that I got you into, but it's just something that is special to me. So to see you still taking so much interest, and probably more interest in it than it was in its prime, it motivates me to be like, you know what, let me check this out and let me give it a shot, because I just think that's kind of cool that even though I don't think the product is anywhere where it used to be, you're loving it. So it's like, you know what? Maybe I'm being too hard on it.
Hey, dude, we survived 2.0. We
Good
know
point.
the sun will rise at some point, and
Good point.
the guys, even as a group with WWE, it was in the
Yeah.
doldrums, and it's gone through the hottest period it's ever, it's had in years. So it will happen to New Japan, I've no doubt. We've got that magic touch.
Yeah. I understand completely. And WWE seems to be trying to screw that up. So,
Yeah, no, they are.
it's
Yeah.
cycles. It's cycles,
Mm-hmm.
It works in
Yeah.
cycles.
I don't want to talk about it. Right, so that is it. We're gonna have to deal with, like I said, the next couple of weeks, AEW and of course WWE. But it's nice to be up to date with New Japan before we're really behind on the G1. And like I said, once we work out when we are free for it and everything like that, we will do a full G1 review. So like I said, that is it. Don't forget, across all social media, X at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNR Pod James. You can find the entire WNR team on the banner. Also now on Blue Sky, WNR Podcast, and Reddit. Jaxie, where can people find and follow you?
You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram at Jaxie Scarlett.
Perfect. And Monty?
At my Monty Pod for all wrestling related content.
Yeah. And Gina?
You can find me on X, Instagram, and Twitch at Purple Pain.
And the Double Awesome Facebook and Instagram. Send us an email at doublepodcast@gmail.com. YouTube Double Podcast. We've got all crazy stuff going on there, like Stone Cold Stunner series, dream matchups, main event matchups, anything you can think of under the WNR universe as well. And the podcast go up on YouTube, same time we do SoundCloud on your phone, also Spotify and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. So that is it. Like I said, we've got the SummerSlam party in the distance, but before we get there, our next episode, next weekend, it will be AEW All In. And I think it will be a long show. I'm not going to lie. I don't think we're going to hit the 2 hour mark with that one, but who knows? Until then, I have been James Vanslow, joined by the fantastic Jaxie Scarlett. Jaxie, thank you for joining me. And again, you know more than you let on sometimes, I think.
I have to keep my cards, close to my chest. Otherwise, I'll never come out of this on top. So we'll see. We'll see how things go in the G1, and maybe I may give away some of my secrets.
We shall see. And of course, the mind of Monty. And Monty, like I said, you got me into this. I suppose I have to thank you in a weird way.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. You're welcome. What I will say is too, you said next week's show is gonna be long. All In broke WrestleMania 35 record. I was there. That was a long ass show. I was at WrestleMania 35. That was a long ass show.
Yeah, it hit the 6 hour mark. It did, but I mean, the podcast won't be that long. I'm sure it won't. And of course, the genius of Gina. Gina, I hope you enjoyed it and caught up with the G1. See what I did there? See what I did?
Yeah, I definitely got what you did there. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed catching up with all of this, and it's definitely been a lot of wrestle overload, but I'm here for it, and I look forward to doing some more. All In's going to be a long one, so just strap in, guys, and get yourself some snacks.
Exactly. I mean, they don't even have to watch it. Just listen to us. We'll wrap up everything in a nice little bow. But that is it. Thanks for listening, everybody, and bye.